Ooh. All right. That's a good one. This is a juicy one.
Today I want to speak about that juicy bit of dialogue from the new raid in Final Shape, specifically when the witness mentioned the Winnower and said, "It ain't me."
You fear answers. Fear the truth you claim to seek. Look beyond this dying garden, or rot in entropy. Each child we save from the game. You again, forced to play. You call us Winnower. We are not. But the first knife clutched in its hand. Gods forged us both. But they cannot tell the knife what shape to carve.
This is a long and convoluted topic that has been debated for quite some time now. We had a resurgence in sort of this discussion when the cutscene came out with the witness origin story from Asa, and then there was a whole bunch of debate about Bungie retconning the Unveiling lawbook, and then we had commentary from the narrative team themselves about the Unveiling lawbook. So there's like a little bit of story here to go back over and to remind you what happened on the Winnower and the Witness, and those two things being separate or different, being separate or the same. So I'm going to rehash all that. I haven't got around to reading all the new lore. I have read one entry that's relevant for this video, but it's going to take me a little bit more time to get through all the new lore entries and then start writing scripts. So you're going to have to put up with these unscripted versions, giving you my thoughts and reactions as stuff happens in the game. Okay. But before starting, this video is sponsored by Manscaped. What do you need after gaming all weekend to try to complete the Final Shape raid? Apart from needing to do your dishes,
hell yeah,
you need a shower. And you definitely need something more effective than that nasty old loofah, which is just a breeding ground for bacteria.
That's true.
Manscaped is here to help with the ultimate buff bundle, including the body buffer, specifically designed to remove dead skin, unclogged pores, and reduce ingrown hairs. Made from 100% antibacterial silicone, it's ready to tackle the harshest of gaming sessions. Or if you're like me and do some combat sports, you really need a good scrub to get everyone else's sweat off you. The bristles help create a better lather, and the ergonomic shape makes it easier to wash away that gamer gunk, and when you are finished, it's easier to hang. Get ready to pretend like you haven't been playing Destiny all week and upgrade your shower routine with the buff bundle, which also includes 2 bottles of refined body wash infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep you fresh and moisturized. Ditch the loofah and wash your dishes and upgrade with the buff bundle. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free international shipping when you use my promo code Myelin at the checkout. Alright, let's start with the Unveiling lawbook. This was delivered to us during the Shadowkeep expansion, and this essentially is like an origin story for the Destiny universe. It's meant to be told from the perspective of the Winnower, which is why we're talking about it, and it describes how there's primordial light and dark forces. The light's called the Gardener and the darkness is called the Winnower, and when they had a big old fight, they had a bit of a tussle, bit of a wrestle. The chaos from that created the universe. There's even mentions of the Vex in here, and we originally thought the Winnower was a separate entity from the Witness. Then what happened is we thought that this book was written by the Witness to deceive us, and there's a bit of a backstory here. One of the reasons we thought the Witness wrote this book is during Shadowkeep, we got these entries after we visited, remember this bowl thing, the unknown artifact, and this was in front of the veiled statues. We now know the veiled statues represent the precursor race that became the Witness itself. And once we collected that artifact, Eris Morn was getting whispers, right? Whispers flow from the unknown artifact, creating sinister messages picked up by Eris Morn. Someone or something is attempting to speak to us. Sinister transmissions seep out from our unknown artifact. Their intentions are anything but pure. Place your eyes upon them only if you seek to find truths among the lies. So this is how we unlock the Unveiling lore book. And we suspected that it was the Witness, and this suspicion was kind of confirmed, or at least in most people's minds, we thought we confirmed this when we had the Season of the Deep cutscene about the Witness's origins. Specifically, how they mention the Gardener and the Winnower, so very specific language to the Unveiling lore book, almost implying that they gave it these names.
They called it the Gardener, their deity of life. It ushered them into a golden age. For eons they prospered, but their newfound god never spoke to them. It lavished them with gifts, but not with guidance. And though they lived in paradise, they came to crave a greater purpose. They desired meaning, structure, a winnower, to shape the garden. Their scholars discovered that the Gardener shared a connection with another entity among the stars. They called it the Veil, and when they found it, they arrived to claim it.
Right, so this is what sort of sparked the whole discussion about the retcon and whether Bungie retconned the Unveiling lore book.
Right.
And in response to that, there was actually a narrative round, like a round table where the narrative team spoke to games media, because at this time there was a whole bunch of controversy also about Lightfall. So they said this, welcome to the problem that all Bible scholars have been trying to figure out. What may or may not have happened and lining that up to actual historical events, says senior narrative designer Robert Brooks. Unveiling is a parable. It is effectively a religious text, and how much of that is propaganda, how much of that is myth, how much of that is fact is deeply unclear in the nature of the text. Brooks notes that when Unveiling first dropped, players did take it as the literal gospel truth. Players believed it to be 100% fact. There was a literal garden, there was a literal gardener. Well, I mean, we have been to the garden, so, you know, that's kind of what people thought it was literal. Anyway, there was a literal winnower. And now it's starting to become clear that those things may not actually be just concrete ideas, but metaphors or things that are far less concrete and clear. And as we get closer into the final shape, more answers on that will still... this is interesting. As we get closer into the final shape, more answers on that will start coming up. And the final shape, of course, will have a lot of answers about the nature of those conflicts. I feel like we've just got more questions. Apparently the final shape gave us the answers to the conflicts of the Gardener and the Winnower. Right. So I think overall, in most people's eyes, this kind of cemented that the Unveiling lore book is not to be trusted, and it's kind of pointing to the fact that the witness likely wrote it, and we don't know if any of it is true or not. With all that being said, and so that means that the witness was pretending to be the winnower. With all that being said, there are bits and pieces of the book that people are now starting to go over with a fine-tooth comb and kind of be like, this doesn't sound like the witness. And now that we know that the witness and the winnower are different, like this, let me read you this and see what you think, right? So this is the Cambrian explosion. Beings who deserve no thoughts, those who peddle the tired gotcha that all life hastens entropy. They are fatuous little nihilists who pretend to prefer no existence to a flawed one. They bore me. That is criticism of the direct philosophy of the witness. This is like what the witness would say, that they prefer no existence to a flawed one. That's their version of the final shape, right? And this is the Unveiling lore book, and this is like heavily criticizing it. So it would be this would be the witness pretending to be the winnower and then criticizing their own philosophy. Pretty interesting, right?
It's almost like the witness wants to be the winnower. And like he thinks like he said it does not know it does not choose the shape that must be carved, right? I think that kind of take it out of context. But the point is, it seems like the witness wants to be the winnower and not just the first knife of the winnower. I mean, he sounds like he's a little jealous. Does he even know what he's jealous of?
Where do I stand with it? I still am leaning towards the witness pretending to be the winnower and writing these books, and their interpretation, their like the religious text, the original religious text was given to them by the Winnower, and then this is their interpretation of that, right? So this is how I currently sort of imagine the hierarchy goes. The Winnower at the very top. Then we have the Veil here, and I'll show you why I think the Veil needs to go here. We don't quite know what the relationship is between these two things. However, I suspect that this is how the Winnower has been making contact with or communicating with other people. And I'll tell you why. Because we have the Witness down here, but we also have Myelin as well. Yeah. And I put them at the same level because they both tried to do the same things, or did the same things. Myelin in the Veiled lore that we got, that like weekly bits and pieces that dropped post Livefall, tried to combine multiple people into a single entity. Spoke about salvation.
Wow, yeah.
Interesting. What did the Witness do? Well, the Witness was actually successful in doing that, or the precursor race was successful in combining people together into the Witness. So I'm kind of thinking that this idea of combining multiple people, beings into the singular being was communicated by the Winnower down, somehow passed it down to the Witness and even into people like Myelin. And then you could argue, yeah, that's what happened, because the precursor race of the Witness found the Veil, got corrupted, formed a singular entity, and that is why the Witness became the first knife. I also think you could use this logic to justify how the Witness then wrote the Unveiling lore book. This is my version of a book. Okay, there are a couple different ways. Firstly, let me also mention, like, obviously, like, the Witness was way before Maya's time. But the other side of things is maybe Maya right now is trying to find a way to become successful, and maybe she has lived in the Vex world an infinite amount of time, rivaling that of the Witness. I wouldn't think so, but that's what this episode is all about. Winnower may have passed on, you know, the writers talked about religious texts, so let's just use that as like kind of our language. You know, the Winnower was, you know, preaching, right? And that was passed through the Veil. The Witness got hold of that, interpreted those values, those preachings, those beliefs, and wrote their version of the Unveiling. Okay, so this is the Winner's version of the Unveiling lore book. Oppositely, or alternative way of thinking about it, is we do know that the Veil contains the memories of the universe. So it could just be that when the Witness and the precursor race made contact with the Veil, they just kind of got a glimpse of the future, of the past, of everything to do with the universe, and then the Witness interpreted that and wrote the Unveiling lore book. Okay. And in general, this is what the new lore is kind of hinting at, is the Winnower is the top dog and has influenced the Witness and people like Myelin, and that the Witness is the first knife, a tool. So now let's talk a little bit about what it means to be the first knife. So the idea of the first knife is slowly introduced in the Unveiling lore book. Firstly, through the Flower game.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Hold on. I like this.
The Flower game is essentially...
Guys, if you want to know lore stuff, pay attention to this text right here. This is the Flower game. This is where it all started.
Rewriting of a real life thing called Conway's Game of Life. In the context of the lore and how they're sort of applying this real life context, real life sort of philosophy, this is sort of my understanding of it. And that is that when they play this game of life, the primordial forces of light and dark, it always ends up in the same pattern. The same outcome is always happening. And this is what's described in the Unveiling lore book. The gardener got up and brushed their knees. Every game we play, this one pattern consumes all the others, wipes out every interesting development, a stupid, boring exploit that cuts off entire possibility spaces from ever arising. There's so much that we'll never get to see because of this pest. So the gardener The light is annoyed, it grows, it creates, it does all this stuff, but that's always taken away, right? And this is like the balance of having a gardener and a winnower. Winnower reaps the crops, gardener grows the crops. And it always evolves into the same pattern. The gardener's getting bored of this happening. And so they say, we need a new rule. We need to allow life to, develop and flourish without, forming this singular pattern every single time. And that is when they talk about the creation of the first knife to cut away this excess growth. Like if the light's cheating and you're breaking the rules and you're going crazy with growth, we need something to combat that. We need something to cut that away. Okay, so the first knife entry in the law book Unveiling says, and thus we too became parts of the game, and the laws of the game became gnomic and open to change by our influence. And I had only one purpose and one principle in the game, and I could do nothing but continue to enact that purpose because it was all that I was and ever would be. I looked at the gardener, I looked at my hands, I discovered the first knife. So remember, this is from the perspective of the witness going, hey, we need something to combat the gardener now, and I discovered the first knife. And once again, we don't know if this is the witness pretending to be the winnower and describing how they became the first knife, or this is the winnower itself describing the creation of the first knife, which is the witness. Now, there is a new entry called the first knife. It is a lore tab for a ship, and it was released with Final Shape, and it really kind of spells out what Bungie is trying to say here.
Oh yeah, we've seen it.
This is just before we go into the Pale Heart. Mara watches
it's from
Ikora,
Myelin Games. Yeah, someone linked the video.
This idea has tempered Ikora's earlier anxieties over the future. This conversation has tempered her own. After all, even though her brother feels distant and faint, in the moment he is out of her mind. A knife is a tool wielded by another's hand, Mara offers. If the witness is the knife, as it asserts, then what wields it? Ikora asks the traveler, though it does not reply. The words are meant for Mara's ears too. The witness is not a being, she agrees. It is a culmination of a bleak ethos willed into existence by the nihilistic desires of its creators. Is their will the hand on the knife? Or is there something else? Ikora's fingers slip from the corners of revelation and her thoughts plummet into more immediate worries and doubts. Mara sees her fall and lets herself tumble into the same precipice, joining her in worry. I don't know. Obviously, Bungie just posing the question. There's someone wielding the knife. There is somebody above the witness. And of course, I think that is the primary purpose of this dialogue line in the raid, is to plant the seed that the winnower is a separate entity and is above the witness, puppeting it, and is, the next big bad in Destiny.
Now, here's the thing, though. Is the winnower actually bad? Because it's the gardener who became bored of the game, the flower game. But it was the winnower who also agreed to become part of the game. They are now a part of the game. So instead of them being, the way I'm viewing this, instead of them being external forces that are playing this flower game, right? And say they're being like, gods in the sky, now they're a part of it. But as the winnower pointed out, he has his role and cannot deviate from that role. It's almost like playing D&D, but like you have your set attributes, you cannot deviate from that. You're stuck into that. You're stuck into that role. My assumption is that they're both bad. I think the gardener and the winnower are both bad. Or actually, let me take this back. I think the gardener is worse than the winnower, because it seems as if, at least from if we were to take this text, that the winnower seeks balance, and you would need balance between the two. The gardener seems as if it is tired of just playing God. And so it wanting to spice things up is what led to this. I don't know. I just don't truly trust the gardener. I also don't really know if I still am not just sold on the traveler being the gardener. Maybe the role of the gardener is to just be a sphere in the sky that goes from solar system to solar system, blessing races and cultivating planets, but it cannot openly communicate with anything that it touches. It just gives life. But I do believe, this is my opinion, I believe the winnower's goal was never to destroy the traveler. but instead infected with the darkness. And it did accomplish that. Did we stop the witness? Yes. But I actually think it was by design from the first conversation that Oryx had with the Winnower when he became the Taken King. And as Bive pointed out, like, he believes that was the conversation with the Winnower. I believe even as far back as then, it was meant for us to eventually take up the responsibility to strike down the witness when the witness needed to be struck down. And that would have been in the Traveler after the Traveler itself had been infected. And now that aura that it's giving off, that was the Winnower's goal all along.
Now, do I think that will eventuate? I think that Bungie just did what I said. They wanted to plant a seed of having a big bad. I don't know if it's something that will ever eventuate, just like it took many, many years for the witness to eventuate from the voice in the darkness and from the darkness in general, and to take shape and take form. But I definitely will agree that they just wanted to plant the seed so they have that string to pull on in the future if they want to. I think it's going to be very hard with the way episodes are, because this seems like this would need a seasonal model where things are linked together to combat another big bad darkness-based enemy. So I don't expect anything too soon to do with the Winnower, that's for sure. But I do think we are looking at two separate entities, the Winnower and the Witness, and there's a nice piece of lore from Lightfall that describes there being two voices in the darkness, and I think this makes more sense now with the new information we have. This is from the lore book in Spiral, and the entry is called Meaning. There is a voice that echoes across the darkness, and it asks this question: what is the purpose of it all? And there was another voice that calls back and says, listen, I will tell you a purpose. I will tell you of a final shape. So in my interpretation of this now is, this is the Witness, or the precursor race, calling across darkness after they made contact with the Veil, likely, and asked the question, what's the purpose, right? Because that was what the precursors were concerned with. They were like, we don't have purpose in life. What's the purpose? The Winnower calls back, I will tell you of a final shape. But it can't tell the hands, it can't tell the knife what to carve, which is the dialogue in the raid.
Yeah.
The Witness is like, well, I can carve what I want. I've done my own interpretation of the final shape. Rightio, that's all I've got for the Witness and the Winnower. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to support the channel and cannot think of a comment, you can leave the word the Winnower. As usual, it's been a pleasure.
Myelin, thank you so much. Guys, this is a fantastic video. Please go drop some love. Drop a comment. He said drop Winnower, and link his stuff, guys.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.